Hey folks, it's August, and wherever you are growing your Japanese maples, you're going to get some hot weather. There's no way around it. It doesn't matter if you live in Tennessee, if you live in Prince Edward Island, or if you're in British Columbia. You're going to get some hot weather. And in another episode, we talked about mulching, setting yourself up for success and preventing disaster during those hot days. And I will put in the description here of what episode that was. I can't remember off the top of my head. So today I just want to touch on watering container plants. And there's a bit of a skill there, and it's a bit of an acquired skill. It takes a bit of time, but it's not rocket science, and it's free. So to me, simply what I do is you just become familiar with what your plant weighs, kind of the feel of the plant in a pot, what it weighs and feels like when it's dry, and what it feels like when it's soaking wet. Then you can sort of find, that middle ground as well. And so, you could work backwards here. So if you're just getting your new tree, I just shipped it to you, and okay, Chris says I have to figure out how how to water it. So you could work backwards, and by that I mean you could take your plant, water it for a couple minutes. Now, the old wives' tale of watering it till the water comes out the bottom of the pot, I don't think really applies to some plants, and because there's a lot more water that they can absorb while you're watering it, and not just they're not just done when the water comes out the bottom. So sit there, water it for 2 minutes. Okay, now we know this is what this thing feels like when it's saturated with water. Now, if you're not in a hot spell, you can experiment with this, and a couple days later, okay, what does my pot feel like? Is it less heavy than it was when I watered it 2 days ago or 3 days ago? Is it really light? It feels too light, and okay, maybe it's time for watering. So this isn't a very scientific method of doing this. This is just one way that I do it, and you just become familiar quickly with sort of that, what's dry, what's wet, and then you can work sort of in the middle with that and try and get that middle ground. So this isn't going to be something you're going to do when the temperatures are extreme and you're in a drought, because that's just too dangerous. We just, at that point, like ourselves, we need to get through that period and be hydrated and safe and not wither up. So yeah, that's one little thing to do with that. Now the question is, what do we do with the landscape plants? So it's a bit more tricky. We can't see what's going on in the ground, obviously, and so it's a bit more challenging to approach that. So my sort of general rule is, if I'm watering my potted plants every single day because it's hot, and of course this is going to vary depending on the size of the plant. If we're talking a 1 gallon plant like this versus a 15-gallon potted plant, they have different watering requirements. But generally speaking, okay, if I'm watering my potted plants every single day because it's hot, then my plants in the ground are probably getting watered every other day. It just depends. You've got them nicely mulched, 2-3 inches of good mulch on there. You give it a deep watering, and then you might be able to go a couple days or even 3 days, depending on how hot the temperature is at that time. So, if it's early summer, you might be able to go a week before you water those trees in the ground. So there is going to be a difference there. But today I just want to focus mostly on those potted plants, and kind of learning how to figure out, okay, this is when my plant is dry, this is when it's wet. Okay, trying to find the middle ground as well. So yeah, so that's that. Good luck, everybody. Hot days, tough to keep everyone watered up. But do your best for your wonderful Japanese maples. Subscribe and like this. And as always, find our trees at simplyjapanesemaples.ca. We'll see you next time.